trustee at this
Vice
point.
Chair.
All right. Good evening. I guess we can call the meeting to order. The first thing is approval of the minutes, so that would be the September 26th minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Gwendolyn, we got the minutes done for you.
And Kelly's amendment as well.
I think we were going to do the capital projects at the end.
Yeah, we were gonna,
We'll do the
yeah, go ahead and do the, do we have any leases here? All right, thanks so much, Dee. Appreciate it. All right, next up we have the Times of Ethiopia lease. Now, we had talked about an escalator or some kind of, is there any change in this from the other one, or this was just going to be a 1 year, is that correct?
So this is a 1 year lease. They've asked for a 1 year lease, and there is a 5% increase in comparison to last time. This would be consistent again with what we've done this year among all of our other tenants. So this is the direction that we would recommend to move forward with.
This is for the Taste of Ethiopia?
That is correct.
And Courtney, the lease prior to that was that what term was that? 2?
I believe it was a 2-year term. I do believe you're correct.
Okay.
How are they doing? Do we know?
I believe they're doing good.
They make their payments okay?
They do. Yep, they're very good tenants.
All right, in that case, I look for a motion to approve the new lease.
I'll move that.
Motion, do I have a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. All right, we got delicious Ethiopian food for another year. Up next, the Front Street Brewery lease. Courtney had sent out some more granular information that we'd requested since our last meetings. Both of these leases were kind of very timely and needed to be addressed to just clarify that cost per square foot. And did you receive any feedback on that or any further questions?
No, didn't receive any further questions. Just to give you all an update on this one. So we did the same thing that we've done with the previous leases. We've increased it by 5%. We also, something that was brought up to me and is a bit irrelevant to this lease because today we're here for this lease. That's a 3-year lease, but something that Front Street would like to talk about in the future is increasing their leasing terms. So instead of a 3-year lease, maybe they have an opportunity to look at a 5-year lease or something even higher than that. So I think they're really happy at where they're at. We've really had an opportunity to get to know them. I would say that they are good tenants. We talk with them pretty regularly. Stephanie's nodding her head. Like I said, we really have had an opportunity to get to know them. I would tell you what I told them is that certainly they are welcome to seek out a lease that is more than 3 years, but anything above 3 years actually supersedes the commission and then goes to council for recommendation and approval. So again, anything above the 3-year lease mark is not within our realm, and it then gets taken to council for recommendation and approval.
What do you think about that?
They were okay with that. They're interested in pursuing that in the future.
So, if we had that long-term, like a 5-year or more, obviously there would have to be something built in. There would be an increase, I suppose, in so many years for lease rate or not?
We could, yeah. There's many different things that you could do with that. So similar to our leases here, if we wanted to, we could do a 5-year increase for 1 year and a 7-year increase for the 2nd year and a 9-year increase for the 3rd year. So yes,
I'm just trying to cover our bases that we get locked into, say, a 5-year, 6-year lease and we never raise the rent or whatever, and maybe they're getting a pretty good deal by the end of the lease rate. That's what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair thought.
Did they give a reason why they would like a longer lease? I don't know, I don't see the advantage to them unless they have some loan or something out where they can show that they have a lease of a business.
Stability, like a future council could decide they don't want them there anymore.
Future commission, you mean?
Well, or either.
Well, and
Yeah, I
five-year,
guess that's true.
five-year commercial leases are not unusual, nor are built-in escalators, so,
No,
and.
we've had that.
Or option on the 4th or 5th years. too.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, where
yeah.
you have maybe like a series of a 5-year and then plus 3 additional 5-year options, so that, you know, your landlord isn't it's your kind of right of first refusal, whether you renew or not, instead of kind of. So this is actually a little bit more uncommon, from my experience, to kind of go back and be re-asking kind of at the end of every term.
Especially if you're investing at all,
Yeah.
right? I mean, when you invest in your fixtures and different things, knowing that you've got at least 5 years that, you know, it's going to be in place is probably helpful.
How long have they been there?
I don't even know.
Well, longer than long.
Long time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's 6
Time.
years. This might be the new iteration.
Oh, I think this might be their third term. Yeah, this going at least 6, if not
Well,
more.
they've become such a strong anchor there and really activated that space week long, so that's been really, really nice.
All right.
All right, great. Well, with all that said, do I have a motion to approve the Front Street Brewery lease?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Any opposed, no? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and circle back to the capital improvement projects. Or, I'm sorry, is that further down, or are we going to future business?
Is it okay if we go through future business?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Management update, perfect.
Okay.
So future business, I know that Stephanie has since, sent to us some information about doing a Riverfront Improvement Commission tour. Eric Sands, our senior facility maintenance manager, has agreed to join us on that, which I think will be really helpful and will actually add to the discussion that Dee is going to lead here with your team in a minute. So I would certainly encourage you to come to that. I think it's going to be a great experience, like I said, and really looking forward to that. Because of daylight savings time, we are asking if you can come earlier, and I know we had provided the time, was it 3:30? 3:30. So if you can come earlier, we would really appreciate that. If you can't come until a little bit later, that's okay too. Certainly you can join us. We can give you one of our cell phones. We can let you know where we're at in the tour, and then you can just hop right in at that point. There's that.
That's our next meeting. Yeah. I'm
So
sure.
is that leaving where, I forgot?
It'll leave from here, from City Hall. So we'll catch the trolley here at City Hall, park, and we'll go from there. Yes, we'll have a trolley. And then, from there, when we come back, the intention is to actually approve the Nestle Purina Pet Care Company lease. I will be sending that out via email, and so it's kind of, does the chicken come before the egg concept in that our legal team has to look at that lease, their legal team has to look at that lease, and then us as a commission have to look at that lease as well. So with that lease, we have stayed consistent, with the 5% increase. I want to say their lease is potentially for, I'd have to double check, but 2 or 3 years. So I'd have to go back and double check on that one.
They're a gravel lot leaser.
Yes, gravel lot leaser. They actually are really great to work with. I had to work with them during the RACBRI period. They were very, very kind in working with me on that. I've also had some experience working with them and Kelly during our time of flooding. Very, like I said, just great tenants all around. So definitely one that I would recommend that we want to continue doing business with. And I was told that by this Friday, I should have some notes from their legal team that I will send over to you all. So hopefully by this Friday, with the Friday update, I can send you their lease for review, and then we can go back and forth on questions.
Excellent, thank you. All right, after that, management updates with upcoming events.
Yes, so we are very busy right now. We have 3 events coming up within a 6-day span. So we have our final iteration of Fright House this Friday. If you've been keeping score, the first week it was cold, windy, but we still probably averaged about 300 to 400 people. We had to cancel the second week due to inclement weather, and then this third week we had gorgeous weather. And our estimating, we had somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people that came down. So it was very successful. Everybody seemed to have a really great time. I've been getting nothing but positive feedback from people saying that, you know, they like that there's something down there for families to do. They like that, you know, it is affordable if it is a larger family or if they're bringing friends, because all of the activities that we're providing are free. So they're just really have to pay for dinner and if they're gonna shop. So we have our last one this Friday. It is going to be kind of a big giant blowout because we moved all of the activities from the canceled week to this week. So we've got a band, face painting, balloons, a caricaturist. There'll be a DJ, a photo booth, a costume contest. Vendors are going to hand out candy. And then on that note, we would really love to have either a tent or a table that's a commission table to hand out candy. I personally can't do it since I'm running around like crazy during the event. But if anyone is available and interested in being down there, I would say you could get down there even 5:45. And quite honestly, you will probably be out of candy by like 7. And could go home or enjoy the festivities. So if anyone is interested in that, just let me know before you leave so I can make sure I've got enough chairs and all of that. But it should be a fun night. We have the Halloween parade on Sunday. Both Courtney and I will be helping with that this year. So we're really looking forward to being a part of that. And then next Thursday, I emailed everyone about this, but we've got the ribbon cutting at Veterans Memorial Park. I've been assisting the parks team and the Friends of Veterans Memorial Park group in getting that all set up. So we're looking forward to that. It should hopefully be a nice day, not too chilly. And then some things that are further down the road, but still kind of on the horizon. The holiday train will be back this year. Unfortunately, it does not coincide with the holiday weekend at the farmer's market. It's the weekend before. But with that being said, I know the farmer's market is planning to do a little something. Courtney and I have been brainstorming some ideas as well. I believe I sent out the date for that, but it will be Sunday, November 26th, which is the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend. They estimate the train will be here around 5:45 that evening for about an hour or so. So as I get some more details, I will pass those along in the updates. And then I had the opportunity to join in for an events meeting last week with the farmers market. They're working hard on Jingle and Mingle. That is the first weekend in December and is running Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They've got a bunch of live music lined up, lots of really fun activities. Anybody that was a Glühwein fan from last year, they are keeping that component and are looking into making a mocktail version of that for this year as well. For any non-drinkers or any little kids that are feeling brave and want to try mulled fruit. So it sounds like it's going to be a great time. I'm working on the kids tent and some activities for that. So we will likely need some volunteer help for that. So I will definitely keep everyone in the loop as we move forward on that. But that is everything between now and December 3rd. So I will keep everybody posted as I have more details. Yeah.
With that, let's go ahead and circle back up to CIP.
Yeah, so before we jump into CIP, 2 things that I wanted to give some updates on, so that sometimes are in relation. So the first one that I wanted to give an update on is the FEMA project, the Fairgrounds study. So this is the study that I sent you all specs on. You had an opportunity to see what Union Station could and hopefully will be soon. So that is something that our team is working on right now. It looks like we have about a 15% match that we need to give, so that what that totals is about $150,000. We did not include this on the CIP list that you're going to see today of projects because we actually have a different funding source. So it doesn't come from the same funding source, and that's why it's not included today. But I didn't want you all to think that that it was forgotten about or that we're not now actively staying on top of that.
So Courtney, maybe you can talk just a little bit more about that project. I don't know if you went over it the last meeting. You took a better look at it or spent some time on it.
Yeah.
Did you?
So that, our last meeting, I did not go through it in detail. I gave, I'm not sure if it was Kelly or someone asked me to send some high-level points, just to give an overall. But if, honestly, if you wanted to give any, I know that you were part of that study. If you want to, you're welcome to.
Well, some of us know it because we saw the end project, but for those of you who know, basically it is a permanent flood wall on the south side of the Union Station. And so that flood wall butts up and is part of what you see the railroad has done at their, 20 feet. And so that's going to be integrated in. And then it's also going on the west side of the Union Station. That wall will be, we'll have a wall in front of it. And so what happens is that we'll have a wall and then the HESCO barriers can be used, that's the outside, on the north side. So when you saw that and underneath where the patio would be is a wall coming up and so underneath of it as the flood wall. So it's very similar idea to what they've done with John O'Donnell Stadium, where they've got some of it permanent, and then they put in some of those metal panels.
Yeah.
This one, we're using HESCO barriers. So also the sidewalk and all of that will be replaced. So it is, basically, how do I want to say it, a little bit more stable underneath to be able to attach. And that will give at least those who are renting the Union Station a better access even during flood time. I mean, when water's all the way around it, it's not really, you can't really go in. But it can be used a lot more and we won't have the issues that we're having now with all of the bricks coming up and down. And so it's a good project. It's about $1.6 million. Am I close? And so what we need though, I think, is while staff has been in contact with FEMA really, we need to get it higher on the list. So I think as a commission, we're going to need to take an active role in taking this project, understanding the project, getting it in a form where we can call our senators and representative and ask, okay, where's this project in FEMA? How can we advocate? How can you help us advocate for this project to be able to get it funded?
Is there like an expiration time that we need to think about in terms of, okay, we're in queue with FEMA, is that sort of the thing? But is there
I think the first
statute of
one,
limitations
Kelly,
on
is
how we
literally
get it?
asking the two centers to ask where our project is. I think we have to start there, where they inquire for us, because we're not really hearing enough.
Is there like an official name or code or something for where we, like our project that we could?
Yes, there's there's a form and application that I think we've sent in. We need to, that's what staff needs to do for us, is to package that up. But I think it's maybe our job now to kind of work the political side of this to see where it's going.
So is the railroad, raising of the railroad, is that the south wall, or was there gonna be another wall that?
Oh, no, there's another wall, but it abuts the south,
Okay.
And
That's considered porous.
yes, no.
Yeah.
And you gotta go down, so you gotta cut the water off and.
So to Dee's point then, I think something that we could do, one, package it more eloquently on the staff side, and then maybe set up a small group with some of our commissioners here to go ahead and help us move that forward and kind of stay on top of it this next year as we look to the future. And then the second one that I wanted to touch on is actually the causeway study. So that was also another project that you won't see here in the CIP list of projects. And that causeway study, I touched base with Clay to find out where we're at with that one. We won't find out whether or not we got that until December. So as soon as I hear news, I promise I will share news with you all, and hopefully it's good news.
Got that from where?
I think that was through the Corps. I want to say it was a grant through the Corps, but I could double check that for you.
But it is submitted.
It is.
And just as a newbie, where is that?
That would be Credit Island, so the
Okay.
entrance of Credit Island.
Okay.
All right, well, those are my two updates.
All right, here,
Yes.
let's hand these out.
So, Dee, I can pass those out for what you like.
Okay, I was just, see,
Take them around?
yeah.
Perfect.
So what this is really just an Excel spreadsheet that Courtney put together. And it really has only 2 buildings here. And some other projects. So the very first one that you see in red is the Freight House. And so what it is, the project is really the detail project main for what needs to be done at the Freight House is under that larger group. So the very first one would be, let's just go through that one, the west parapet wall. The cost to design it is $7,000. You can see what the construction is and then the total cost. That column where you see that total cost is that staff has found funding because it was an emergency or it was in the in the current fiscal year capital project now. So for those of you who don't do government, FY '24, we're actually in that right now because it ends June 30th of '24. So when you see these FYs, it's really the June 30th of the previous year. So that's the current year funding is that wide piece there. And then as you can see, FY '25 would be really just July 1, money available July 1 of 2024. So as I went through it with Courtney and Gwendolyn also a second time, there are a number of issues at the Freight House and very large dollar amounts that need to be done. And these are critical pieces where we're actually, the envelope of the building is degrading and we are really losing our capital asset. We had the roof funded for this year to be done, but not at that dollar amount. The 2 parapet walls, while if you've looked at or seen the Shive Hattery study, obviously in 2018, it was very clear that they were in poor condition. It really wasn't until the summer after hey, something's wrong with this wall, it looks leaning, that we realized what the real problems were. So there are 2 parapets that come down. Now they have to be rebuilt, the tuck pointing around them. So those first 2 projects you see there in the current, the 76 and 66, are doing those parapet walls. The next one is the roofing and some tuck pointing. So this project was originally $350,000. A project that we had in fiscal year '24 was to redo the electrical work in the stadium lot for the farmer's market. That project, staff is recommending, and I think we have no choice, is going to be abandoned because to do the roofing and the tuck pointing necessary, it's $416,000. So we need all of that $100,000 to help bridge this gap. So this is what the staff is recommending is going to happen, which I appreciate. I mean, this is not easy to move this. The next 2 are ones we're much farther out in the CIP, actually. These lintels, which are the top and bottom of the windows on the main part of the building. You know, if you look up and if you go inside, it's those wooden windows on the main part of the building. You can see that those projects are going to cost about $635,000. Those were, again, way out in the CIP. Placing them in '25 will burden, I know, some other projects and some other things that are going to be done in the capital improvement project program, because that's a big number to see that wasn't marching its way up. The other 2 that are as critical are really the fire alarm system, which the fire department said needs to be replaced. It's a definite problem. And then this beam column that I'm not really clear on, but Eric is basically saying we need to get it done before we do tuck pointing and other things. So you can see that is a very large ask we're asking in the CIP next year for the Freight House. Followed up in the following year, which is the tuck pointing of the outside building. It wouldn't take a rocket scientist to realize we are way over $1.2 million on just getting this building livable inside, doing nothing really in the inside. And so I think, for the commission, I think we really have to advocate that this gets done. I think staff is clearly advocating that this is important. And we need to turn now our attention to, if we're doing this much repairs on the outside, what do the tenants need and who are the tenants we need? So Front Street's one of those who want to be here longer term. What is it that we should be doing in addition here to make this building, now that we have a building, I think, of high quality on the exterior, to make this building all it can be for any tenant that wants to lease it. That's good for us to get, a better lease price, but also, it's just the economic sense of it. So, as you can see here, those are the main things that are being done. There's some awnings that are in the year out, and the awnings on the north side, and one of the things that we really need to know from our tenants, and this is maybe doing this study, is do you need more storage? What are the other things that need to be done? And is there something on the north side that we can activate to make the building more accessible or understandable to those people who drive by? But we have time, as it sits out there. The other one is the west side retention wall and patio slab. If you go to the farmer's market and where the bands play, there's kind of like a little metal wall, like fencing there. If you look at that wall that's holding up the foundation, it is totally disintegrated. I mean, it is a mess. But again, it's one of those things is, now that we know we have to replace this foundation, what can this be? Is this an open air building? Is this open air? Is this a closed end where more things can happen here on this end? What can it be? So its replacement is out here in fiscal year 28, but I think this is another thing that we need to vision what this building's gonna be, because then we can really be more informed of what can we do there for its highest, best use. It's just not replacing the foundation. There's probably a lot more that can happen there. It's a big space. Do we keep it open? Do we close it in? What would be the best thing to do? So that's kind of in a nutshell, those top ones. The ones that still have me kind of breaks my heart is, to make this play out, the restroom improvements, some electrical work, which may not be all the electrical work that needs it. We really have to dive into that a little bit more, are still in these placeholder modes. And so I've talked briefly with Courtney, and we really need to look at someone helping us through that. I think that's going to come along, and maybe hopefully at the next meeting we can talk a little bit deeper on how the commission can kind of be thoughtful of how we might be able to program this with some more information. So that's the Freight House that I think is kind of buttoned up. We're not voting. I think if you guys want to talk about these, I think we should, but this seems to make sense to me. I don't think the commission has asked for over $1 million on any one project in a heck of a long time. Right, Kyle, back there? Yeah, this is a pretty big ask, but I think it's a necessary one if we really want tenants and businesses in that building. I mean, we really, as a landlord, don't have much of a choice. Union Station is in much better shape, though it does need future tuck pointing, and it's showing out here in fiscal year 28. There is an awning issue there that we have to unfortunately take care of this year. I'm not sure. We know that it's going to be designed, not sure what the costs are going to be, but this is again going to be one where the staff is going to find current dollars to fund it. Because it can't wait. I mean, they're walking through scaffolding. It's not a pretty look. And then the River West planning findings is out a little bit. The other one is the West River Drive lot rehab, I think is a project that I put in there a long time ago. And this project is really just to seal the Nestle perennial lot because it's gravel. And the current stormwater ordinance says that you can't have gravel lots because they're, no, because of water quality. But we've had a gravel lot for the history of that lot, and it's gonna wait a little longer. Well, and if Nestle still wants to rent it, then maybe then we'll pay, that year we'll pave it, or maybe we'll put it in grass, I don't know. The Florian King parking lot electrical work is way out, given our priorities. I'm not very familiar with this. I don't know the value of it. I don't know, Kelly, Gwendolyn, if you with, I really don't.
I just, it's been
Oh,
one
back
of those
there.
things, this Kyle, yeah.
Yeah.
I worked, this was brought up at the farmer's market, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, maybe
Yeah.
4 years ago. So it was kind of a joint partnership where they were asking for electrification so that they didn't have to run as many
Wires.
Because it's very loud with all the generators. When the food truck craze really hit and all the generators were there, this was a big priority. And so obviously it was in the next year's budget, right?
Right.
We gave it up for the roof.
So just to touch on that a little bit, Dee and I spoke at length about this one too, because the farmers market, we do prioritize them as a tenant. We want good things for them. We want them to continue to grow and be successful. And it's not us showing this out doesn't mean that we don't want all of those things for them. We want all of those things for them, but in order to be fiscally responsible, we also have to consider what our immediate needs are and what our essential needs are. And right now we have a large series of essential needs that are pretty immediate. This is also one of those areas that I really believe, and I talked with Stephanie a little bit about this, and I talked with some of our other staff members that focus on grant writing. This is one of those that I think we might have an opportunity to get some type of grant funding, given that we do have the #1 farmers market in the state of Iowa. So really, we could look at this as a partnership with them to start exploring different funding options. And then maybe best case scenario is we can take it off of our CIP asks completely so that we can, like I said, really fund that ask jointly versus more one-sided.
Or if it's a match, it's much less, and we can
Yes.
do it earlier, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of where that one is.
I was curious if there might be some opportunity for, grant options, even under restroom improvements, if. One of the things I'm sure we have to be looking at is what kind of accessibility do those restrooms have currently? Maybe there's a pot of money somewhere, that speaks to, better accessibility, public
Absolutely.
spaces like that, because that, $225, that's a big dollar amount. If we could get a grant of some kind, or,
I don't think, that doesn't address all 4 of them. That's the other thing. We have one that's in the diner that's just really, those are, nah. And then the two larger ones on the first floor of the Freight House are kind of iffy. I mean, they're livable, but they're not great. And then there's the little one, and I think we still have to decide, like, who is that tenant that we have missing? And like, how does that space break up? In terms of like what those bathrooms should look like, because, we just have them because that's where they are, but if we could really think about how, and work through that with someone, how many toilets do you need here and here and here, and that space that we haven't leased out could be smaller, could be not at all, it could be bigger, the other one smaller, what I'm saying? And maybe soon, Gwendolyn, you brought this up when we were sitting, once the the east side is activated and there's restrooms on the riverfront, will there be that many bike riders coming in the middle of the time? But I still think, that those bathrooms are heavily used on days that, they're just heavily used, and they don't have the surfaces or the doors or all that really to take that kind of that kind of work. So I could see this easily doubling this number. I mean, really, I can.
Yeah, I think time will tell whether it gets alleviated or added to, you know,
Yeah.
whether if there's like a great synergy with the Main Street Landing projects, you know, is that bringing that many more people, or is that kind of like the toll booth where now people are diverted off, you know, I think that'll be revealed.
Yeah, and if Stephanie keeps having 1,500 people. And have no bathroom across the way, you pretty much gotta find bathrooms that work, right? And this is all good problems, but yeah.
Is there a study or data that shows the value of the Freight House as an attraction for the city?
I would have to look.
No, I can say there probably is not. As an economic return? is what
Yeah,
you mean.
and a cultural amenity that might be helpful if you're writing grants.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. I think, yeah, and I think in part of this visioning, we need to really, turn to the staff work of the downtown partnership, I think, to help us too, because they can, I think, help us with the economic return on those kind of businesses. And what does that mean? And I think that, that's part of it's just not being a landlord and it's just not having programming, but there is, like, we do want people who are leasing to, get the highest, best return on their dollar too.
Well, and I would imagine that there could be some synergy between the development and the residents that are coming downtown ever more, and the fact that there is this amenity downtown that gets traffic from residential, people, and that would heighten its value to the city as well.
And the last one is, I guess, also one of my kind of favorites. It's literally money as a program that would be available if land that's now in private hands become for sale. And where we're looking where we've looked and when we looked on River West is that there's a lot along South Concord. And if that really is the bike trail that, that's designated federally, as a bike trail, what is our long-term, and when I mean long-term, I'm talking 2030, what is our long-term vision? And having that in public hands, that riverfront over time, when it can be, is good. This is really not, you're not gonna spend it if you don't have something to spend it on, but this is really, to me, one of those, remind staff when things pop up, we should take a moment, pause, and take a look at what this is. Or somebody's struggling and they need help and they want to sell, then there's available funds to talk to them. Will this cover it? Maybe not, but between 2 years, maybe. It's kind of the DNR, I think, approach to piecing together watersheds over 30 and 40 years. That's how they do it. This is kind of that same idea. So that's the list.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So I guess, anyone have any strong feelings, or I love that we're addressing the life safety issues ahead of the wants and desires. I mean, I think that's appropriately prioritized. And yeah, even though it is quite the ask.
It's still for the farmer's market. It's not like you're taking it away from them and doing it on Union Station or something.
So the money, the income that's generated at the farmer's market, let's say, did any of that money come back to us? No?
No, our tenants only pay for their rent.
The rent comes to us.
Yes, the rent definitely comes to us, and they do a good job of that, but the tenants,
The rent meaning the people that,
the farmer's market pays the city a rent, if you will, that we get. But and it's kind of confusing, but it's the farmer's market vendors, in order to participate in the farmer's market,
yeah,
they actually pay the farmer's market a fee in order
Correct.
to, and then.
in order to set up a booth.
Right, and then the farmer's market, that's how they make their money in
Yeah.
order to pay us for the actual venue itself.
They pay us a percentage.
No,
No, it's a flat rate.
It's a flat rate.
I think it's $4 a square foot
I
of the
actually-
building.
I included it, I can send you, that email, but it is included.
Yeah.
The update.
I think, Bill, that's the email that it had each tenant at the Freight House and what they were paying by square foot. And I think that's an interest because, you know, that we have a fairly discounted rate for the market. They pay $4 compared to the other ones who I think are paying about, what, 9 now?
That's correct. 9 to 12 is the range.
Well, 12 is the pop-up. You can rip them off a little bit.
So does this require a motion for us to approve this, or what is the process here?
So, there's not necessarily a motion to approve
Okay.
it, so to speak. But I think it would be good to, have a consensus to move forward.
I think
submitting
something
this
directing
project.
staff to submit this as,
Yeah.
might be, and
So
we
I
can do that in a
would-
motion.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we, direct staff to proceed along these guidelines.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that. I think that, absolutely. This is a unique situation, the Freight House, and the Union Station for that matter, because it's one of our more active income sources.
Well, and it's nice to see things kind of holistically as we're kind of making a roadmap for the future and, kind of the deferred maintenance bill coming due.
Yeah, deferred
So-
maintenance is, that's the key right there. It's deferred maintenance. That's exactly what it is. And we need to solve the problem.
All right, well, all those in favor with Courtney proceeding as outlined here, say aye.
Right.
Any opposed, no? Onwards and upwards.
So I did want to just say one thing, just to Dee's point, so something that, that I really do believe is important, whether you call it a commercial study or a business study or an assessment of the overall building, I really do, I agree with her and I believe that that really is our next step as a commission in terms of, yes, we need to create a safe foundation and a safe shell, but we also do need to start thinking long-term about our tenants and who we have in there and how we can make this space work not only for them, but the actual long-term plan. And so we're gonna need some help with that. And so I would say that in this next year, come January, we'll probably have a very strong, not probably, we'll have a really strong push as a team on how do we execute that and what are the steps into moving forward to make us successful in those endeavors.
It might be informative to have as guests the downtown partnership people to talk about what their plans are.
Well, thanks so much, Dee.
All right, up next, let's go to the park liaison report.
We didn't have a whole lot of stuff that directly affects the riverfront. We got a presentation from Chad Dyson about, well, the CIP program and also the funding sources for the Parks Department. And then we had really not riverfront related, but we had a really good news update on the golf course. Because they're all self-funding, they're enterprise funds, they're supposed to not get general funds from the city. And all the graphs for them are kind of like this since COVID, where it goes just kind of, on all of them, kind of off the charts, almost. So they've had a continued interest that started during COVID when people could be outside golfing. People didn't all quit when that kind of slowed down. They're still out there golfing, and that's real good for them and kind of good for parks in general. The nature play area at Credit Island has moved on to the final council vote, I believe, is tomorrow. And so if they can do their stuff, that'll be moving forward soon. We were kind of reminded about the ribbon cutting for Veterans Memorial Park.
The nature play area, where's that?
Credit Island, the one Chad
yeah.
presented last time here.
Yeah, okay.
That's kind of in its final stages of being approved, hopefully. And yeah, they talked about the National Parks and Recreation Conference in Dallas. The city sent some people to, and that was successful, and things are going pretty well.
Was there any discussion about, getting back to the golf, about a new clubhouse at Emice, was that?
Yeah, that's their big fundraising push that's coming soon to look at all kinds of sources, and they're talking about building a pretty big, bigger than Highland Springs clubhouse involving First Tee and a lot of partners, but that's a few years out
And
probably.
it's just at E-mice?
Yeah, to start with. I mean, they're not talking Duck Creek yet. But yeah, there's a lot of things they can do. They're gonna end up working with an architect and potentially move the building close to the driving range where you can have at least 10 months out of the year, maybe driving range bays that are kind of somewhat inside, kind of attached to the building for a little bit of the Topgolf type feel to where they can get more revenue year
Was
round.
there any report on the Glow Target Golf at Duck Creek? How did that go?
No, I actually meant to ask about that myself, whether that's still happening and whether it's popular.
I know it's not still happening, but
Oh,
I just
okay.
wondered how it went over, if there was a success or was it a bust or?
I know that they're seeing a lot of driving range business because, and I guess we talked a lot about golf at the meeting actually, but, it's basically people don't necessarily have 4 hours to play around a golf. So the idea of coming out and going to the range or going out and going to Topgolf for an hour and a half or 2 hours is appealing to people. So the driving ranges at all three courses are doing pretty well. And they recently, as you probably know, brought in kind of a credit card, pay at the machine, get your balls directly thing. So that's going pretty well for them. Everything golf related is going pretty well, to be honest. The First Tee program's doing really well. They need more space. They need a classroom at E-mice, and there isn't one because their pro shop there is like a little tiny 1960s
So
shed.
they're thinking of moving the First Tee from,
No, expanding. It's already, I think, expanded to E-mice, but they're meeting in the shelter there by the parking lot because they don't have a classroom.
oh, really?
It's
So
still
they
at Red Hawk.
They still have Red Hawk?
I think
and-
they're maybe wanting Duck Creek too in the future. Like I said, it's all good news on golf.
It's a surf because
Yeah.
it's becoming popular.
I mean, that's a good investment long-term to get the kids in.
I tell you, this is pie in the sky stuff, but, you go to Palmer Hills, Palmer Grill, which is, there's a lot of people that go there to their facility, Palmer Grill, just to play cards, have lunch. They don't play golf. And our setting at Duck Creek in particular, if you expanded that clubhouse out to the north and to the west there, about where the driving range is now perhaps, or just kind of make the clubhouse come around, that setting is way prettier than Palmer Hills. I mean, that's a beautiful little setting right there with all the trees, and right now especially, I was just there today. I play there every Tuesday, but the colors and everything out there right now, that's a beautiful setting, and people would, I think, if we could create a facility where people could go there and have lunch and play cards, it'd be a gold mine.
Yeah, we talked about that exact thing, and Palmer Hills has struggled with that and operating it and stuff, so that's a scary side of it for Chad.
That's a managerial problem,
But,
that's
yeah,
not a.
It's something that's gonna be looked
customer
at
problem.
as part of the design of E-mice and stuff, so.
And I know Matt Hazley's talked about it, because I've talked to him about it, and he's the pro there for those that are non-golfers, and he would really like to see that as well.
Sorry to take us way off into golf zone, but
Well, it's part of the park.
we used to have a Riverfront golf course, but yeah.
How do you do?
It's easily. So, yeah, we spent most of the time on that, and then a little bit of talk about the Halloween parade, but, Parks is hoping to compete well in the float competition, but top secret theme and whatnot. Gotta beat the fire department.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. All right, I guess, up next, do we have any other, Grip, are you public with business? All right, well, in that case, I'll take the privilege to adjourn. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
I came late.
You need to know if we're going on the trolley?
Yes, I know, yeah.
Today.
Yeah, you can go, okay.
I've been on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Background.